We really do live in one of the stranger times in American and world history, ladies and gentlemen. There are things going on like the President of the United States making right calls on the stock and cryptocurrency markets, which are making investors trillions of dollars. China is now getting directly involved in US politics to protect their own interests in a very strange and manipulative way. This is just one of many things that will have a huge impact on the price of XRP, the rest of the crypto market, the stock market, and just about everything else at the same time. But recently, Trump pretty much pumped up XRP and the rest of the crypto market. He also gave everyone a great chance to get in before a huge pump. As well, this is something that not many people thought would happen. I don't think it will be all green for a while either. Some more crazy things are probably going to happen in the markets in the next few days. Still, a lot of really important things are happening right now, especially in the tech industry, which we all know is closely linked to both the US and global crypto markets. You can see that the US lists computers, smartphones and tools used to make chips as exempt from reciprocal tariffs. In other words, it looks like most cell phones and computers will not be affected by the taxes. This is a big American business. If you look at the best companies in the US, they're almost all tech companies. These are the biggest companies in the world: Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and so on. They're all very dependent on the computer, smartphone, and chip manufacturing industries. In a way, Trump is helping these people out by letting them be left out. It's still okay for Apple to make their computers, phones, and other things in China. Right now, this makes me a little sad. He might have a good reason for doing this, like the fact that changing this could be very bad for the US economy in the short term. But I have to say that this is not at all what America needs in the long term. I really want to know more about why they are doing this. There must be a reason why I'm not giving credit here. Could you please let me know if you know anything else about this? However, this has definitely led to a huge short-term rise in the technology sector. This is because investors have realized that there isn't that much risk left if the tariffs on everything that makes computers work are lifted. All of these are left out. Okay, it looks like we can buy our tech stocks again. The effects on Amazon will still be huge, I will say. I agree that this news is good for cryptocurrency, but there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. It looks like this is the post on Trump's Truth Social that got a lot of attention. He says now is a great time to buy. That was the last thing he shared on Truth Social, and it got at least 100,000 likes. And after that advice, the 90-day pause in mutual tariffs was made public. The Fed made it clear that it is ready to calm the market at any time. It was revealed that smartphones and computer chips would not have to pay extra duties. Trump asked China to ask for a meeting to talk, and the S&P 500's market value went up by $3.5 trillion. The crypto market is also having a great time. After hearing this, XRP is selling pretty close to $2.15 right now. Okay, it's true that sometimes the little guys do win. This time people who did what Donald Trump said did well. However, this has not always been the case. This time, however, there was a lot of good news after Donald Trump's statement, but the Chinese reaction is what I really want to look into here. Okay, the Chinese embassy in the US just put this up lately. It's very interesting that they are basically spreading lies to get people to support getting rid of tariffs. Of course, China wouldn't bother making these kinds of pieces if they didn't care about these taxes at all. But I'm going to play this for you guys quickly and tell you what I think the problems are that will come up because of this. But pay close attention to this. In the middle of America, small companies are what keep the economy going. But these small businesses are facing a bigger problem. Taxes put in place by the Trump administration are making it harder for them to stay open. Based on a survey of almost 100 small companies that buy goods from China, the New York Times published an article on March 1st that shows how President Trump's tariffs are making things even worse. Trump's attacks on China have caused a lot of trouble for millions of small companies. Tariffs were paid for by American businesses, not supplies from China, so they have to decide whether to cut their own profits or charge customers more. It wasn't always possible to use domestic options because they were more expensive. The quality was worse and there weren't as many choices. I think this whole program is based on a mistake and a fantasy. It's not true that the other country pays for these taxes. Not right. I work for a US company and am a member of the US. These fees are paid for by me. So China is basically telling the other countries, okay, you guys will pay for these tariffs because we refuse to. That's pretty much what they're saying. They say that all of these Chinese companies will have to raise their prices to cover the new taxes. The Chinese company will have to pay the taxes at first, but the higher prices will eventually be passed on to the American business owners who buy the goods from China. But this again doesn't get to the heart of the matter. In the United States of America, these goods are not being made or created. All of them are being made in other countries. This is why I don't like that Trump made exceptions for computers, smartphones and shipbuilding gear. This is where most Chinese suppliers make a lot of money. Now that these guys have all of these exemptions, it will be less important for Americans to work together. Actually, this is bad news for small business owners because Donald Trump did make an exception for big companies. You could say that Apple will be making things in the United States of America. Yes, that is true. They'll still do most of it overseas though, which goes against what most Americans want. I believe that you must go all the way if you really want to. I'm also annoyed that some people are being left out and that small and medium-sized businesses are having to fight this battle alone while big companies get away with it. I'm not sure. I'd love to hear what you all think about that. But I do know what you all really want to know. How will this really affect the economy now that we know Trump is going to do this? He is putting a 90-day hold on taxes outside of China. He's saying that things like smartphones and computer chips aren't affected in China. And when it comes to the talks with China, small and medium-sized businesses are pretty much left carrying the bag. For small and medium-sized businesses, it means that they will have to stop doing business with China. There is still a good chance that big businesses will be able to do business with China, at least in the tech field. That's why nothing will really change there. Okay, so what does this mean for the economy? Well, it's going to be really hard for a lot of industries that make things and currently depend on Chinese goods. We won't really know that for a few years unless something big happens, which we all know does happen quite often. The big news about updates comes out almost every day. I'm sure we'll get more today too. We can see that the SEC has finally put out its rules. The rules are clear, and so is the goal. Crypto is here to stay, and people who own XRP have known this for a long time. Okay, this is great. Things are finally becoming clear. Great. We know the new chair of the SEC has been sworn in. As of April 10th, 11 and 12, they are making changes to their website. On their website, they've added new speeches, statements, meetings, events, and even movies. All of this is meant to say, okay, here are the rules. This is how we do it. If you want to follow the rules set by the government, here you go. This is great news for crypto companies. These partnerships can now happen. However, there may be some uncertainty about China and how